Guys, going to talk about INVO and TIVC. INVO took a loss on the first trade, and then I'm still in the second trade. Show you the reads. So backside bounce. Uh, we talked about this before. So the day before, fake 5-minute flag went straight down only, and something we've seen again and again on strong markets, and especially on strong stocks, is all this empty space. Um, a lot of times, deep down only pullbacks, a lot of the empty space gets attacked. Right? It's just lower lows, lower highs, and a lot of these strong plays, even if they eventually INVO goes back to 50 cents, 40 cents, it will do things like this over and over again on the backside. Um, so we'll go over the trades. I'll show you the chart. Um, it wasn't really doing anything in the pre-market. It had some lower highs, but I wasn't really looking at it. I wasn't really looking at it until my scanner picked it up, squeezing above 1.6. And on this type of squeeze, since we just had this run on Friday, you really have to zoom out and you have to see where the lower highs are located, right? Especially where the push is happening. So there's a lower high at 159, 164. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I try to combine it with what's the volume looking like on this push. As you see, this push had much weaker volume. I was expecting, given the lower volume, some type of backside clear out. And the volume wasn't really that impressive. So I was like, maybe they just go for, these 159s, 164s. And then, of course, we had the 184 up here, right? But I'm like, volume's not that impressive. Let me try making some type of structure read, some type of book map read, see what's happening on the order book, see if I get a good entry. So this push happens. And while this push is happening, I'm noticing that there's like a 25,000 share ask at 162. And the volume here is a little thin. I actually usually like my stocks to be a little more liquid than this. Like these pullbacks for only 50,000 shares on a $1 stock. I usually like more consistent, higher volume. So I was like, you know what? There's this like 30,000 share bid. Let's see if we can open up the book map for it. I was like, there's a 30,000, there's a 30,000 share ask at 162. Let me see if that gets broken. Let me see if any bids follow it up. And let's see if I can make some type of read, right? Because I'm keeping in mind, not only is there a 162 ask, but there's that 164 lower high. I'm like, okay, maybe they're just swiping some backside. And we see it right here. So here's the push. Here's this, and there's actually even more shares than this, but it says 24,000 on the ask. I'm not really seeing any bids followed up, but it's kind of too thin. Thin Manip. Sometimes you don't even see bids on Bookmap. It's so thin, it runs out of volume on these pullbacks, and it just doesn't go anywhere. So I was like, okay, let me at least see if this 162 guy gets taken out. I'm looking up higher. I notice 170 has an ask. 175 is a little bit, and 180 has some. So I'm like, all right, well, 170 is the next obvious level. So I'm like, well, if 162 gets broken with volume, it'll probably push to 170, right? And I'll see if I start seeing any bids follow this up, right? So it breaks 162, big volume, right? Here's the big volume. No bids start following this up, and it hits 170, barely touches it. The orders are still there, and I start to see it stall. I start to see the volume stall a little bit, and I actually went in right here. I actually went in right in the 160s. Let's see. I'll show you my chart. Do I have my chart? I thought I did. Whoops, second. Do I have it now? One. Oh, I closed it. Interesting. Does that work? Okay, there you go. So, I went in the 160s. I was just probably risking even more above 170. I wanted to see if that 170 ask would get taken out, and then there was that 175, 180 level. I want to see how aggressive it was. But I saw the buying just stalled, and then it dumped right through the bids, which we'll see right here. Dumped straight down. I'm like, cool, a little backside clear out. Maybe this will, go back down to the low ones, and or at least like 1.2s, kind of where the pump started from. And this has swing short potential. This is just swiping these backside levels. Um, and I was like, all right, I'll risk on these pullbacks, I'll risk into the 170s and towards 180. So I actually didn't take any profits. I thought, we had these pushes with no bids. I saw ask come in. I thought this was just gonna get shoved down. Um, but sadly, the volume. This is why I hate thinner volume plays. Right. This was like just enough volume for me to be interested, especially on the second push. But what I hate about these thinner volume plays is that they come down to support. The volume gets like 20,000 shares a minute, 10,000 shares a minute, and it just doesn't go anywhere. And then it also has the chance for stuff like this. If this was, I honestly think if this was more liquid, it actually would have been a bearish sign, right? It wouldn't have been as easy to absorb all the selling at support. But usually when I see these types of big green candles off of support, I think these pushes aren't going to go anywhere. I think they're going to roll over. Um, but yeah, you could tell these candles are getting sub 20K. Not great, but I have a good average. I'm risking in the I was risking in the high 170s, and I actually got stopped out on this second push. And usually my rule is I don't chase. If I get stopped out and then a dump happens, I just throw my hands up, be like, what can I do? Um, and now I notice, like, well, there's that 184 level from the day before, and this is kind of like a little mini clear out short trap, right? Like, I got stopped out on the top of this candle, and now it's looking really weak. They start manipping it back up. I see the 1 minute 9 catch on the bids, and I'm keeping that 184 level in mind. Squeezes the 184 level. I'm like, all right, this is actually much better because either the play is it swipes 184. This is my thinking. Either it swipes 184, right? This high, it swipes that high, fakes out longs, thinking it's going to two, and then rolls over, um, or it's going to squeeze the two, right? So it's kind of, do I think this has the liquidity to squeeze the two, or do I think they're just swiping this backside level and they're going to pull it? So I just bet they were going to pull it because the volume wasn't super impressive. And then on the second push, I noticed they had a big ask at 190. I noticed they were throwing bids. They're throwing. You'll see this sometimes. They'll throw bids, but they're like these temporary bids to push it up. So you'll see these like 15, 20K bids that are kind of initiating the squeeze. But then once it starts getting to the higher ask, like essentially to the level they want, which is above 184, you start to see them pull the bids, and there starts to be a lack of bid support. And really, I was pretty convinced that given this volume, it wasn't going to hit two. So I actually shorted, actually very close, because I saw this 190 ask. I actually just started shorting in the mid high 180s because I was like, you know what? I saw the bids get pulled, right? There weren't any bids down here. I wanted this to reach 190 because there's kind of a lot of like the thing about shorting. What's nice about Bookmap is you don't have to chase down into like the low 180s because I like to know where my risk is going to be. My risk is often based on where the ask is, so I really want to see pushes towards the ask, and I want to see some type of stalling or some type of lack of bid support. Um, or in this case, you actually see the ask as it pushes. The ask starts to get thicker and thicker. Actually, they moved this up. You could tell they moved this up from 185 to 190. It got even on this second push. It got even more orders up here. Like the orders start getting heavier. And I saw no bids. I'm like, all right, let me just go in the 180s. But I didn't really have my full size, and then I added on the bounce, which was like a mini um, fake 5 minute flag that I was like, I was actually really hoping this would push a lot higher, but I ended up just shorting the rest of my shares, which is only about 30% on this little bounce. So I had an average in the 180s, um, and I did take some off on the first VWAP crack because this was so thin, and I noticed they were throwing up um, bid support in the 150s. I was like, you know what, let me just take a little bit off. And I actually been holding this rest of the day. I haven't covered any more shares. I was hoping to get a big 150 crack because that's really where the next big bid is. Um, and they're kind of faking longs out on these, VWAP reclaims. I'm like, all right, I'm hoping this just fakes longs out, rolls over, but the stock is so thin. This is really the downside to trading thin plays. Is that even though a lot of times they don't have the strength to go up, it can really mess with the fade on the way down. And I might swing some of this to try to get sub 150s. But just a little play, a little backside play. Because this just ran on Friday, it really helps to look at the price action, right? Straight down only. Understand that this type of price action can get attacked, especially on a previously strong crazy runner. Like INVO did this crazy move, so it has a lot of crazy backside action, and I did my first backside clear out on this candle, um, clearing out these levels, and then I did another one clearing out this 180, this candle I shorted on Friday. So, um, didn't really get the down only action I was expecting. It's still going sideways, so I guess we'll see. Maybe in the after hours it fades. Maybe in the after hours it, you know, there's a lot of lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, or maybe they use the after hours to squeeze towards my average. So we'll see. We'll see, and that's really all I did on this play. Just trying to just waiting for the volume to come in, trying to make some bookmap reads, read the bid support, read the ask levels, and see what happens. So we'll trade. Uh, and yeah, other thing I traded was TIBC, so I'll make a little video on that, and that's about it. See you guys.